All right, so today's training will be covering the housing placement and leasing dashboard. More specifically, we will look at a client's current lease and go through any types of lease changes that you are looking to make for your client. We will also cover in the second half of the video how to submit a move request if the client does not wish to stay in the current housing unit. And so we'll do that right after the lease changes. So on the leasing dashboard here, what you'll notice is we are using APA Test, AFC Demo program. All the information presented to you today is fictional data. We have made up test scenarios, and nothing on in this training is correct or actual data, this is only set up to demo this workflow. With that, my name is Aziza Nassar. I'm the Senior Manager of Quality Assurance and Improvement, and I'll be your instructor. On the housing placement and leasing dashboard, what you'll notice is APA Test has a current lease on file. You'll notice that everything here suggests that there isn't really anything to do other than lease changes. So obviously this is a fake client. It does say that in order to do a new lease, a new assessment is needed. But really this lease is actually current and in good standing. So if the client is needing to make any type of changes to the current lease that we have on file, there is a place on the dashboard to do that, and that is on the right hand side under the current lease section. So here you'll see there is that red question that says, did something change? And if you've watched any of our previous videos, what you'll know is that anything that is highlighted in red is typically something that it'll allow you to make changes to or add to. So did something change? Here it gives you a drop down of various situations that will allow you to make changes to the lease. So things like my client's lease expired or is expiring soon, and I need to request an extension. My client's household has experienced a loss of income, right? Well, loss of income we know will change that rent calculation. So it's important to notify us of that change. The landlord address has changed, right? So since submitting this lease, the landlord's address changed, and therefore the rent payment is going to be sent to a different location. And the last thing that we have here is the housing unit new ownership or management. So let's say the unit has now, we have a new landlord or an ownership company that has taken over, and we need to make changes to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each one of these scenarios and walk us through what is needed. So if we select the first one, lease extensions, what you'll notice here is that it does give you some language around how long a lease extension can be granted. So as we see here, we can extend a lease up to 3 months. And so anything outside of that will just need to be submitted as a regular lease. So when you click on submit a lease extension, you'll see this client lease extension request with familiar information, the landlord, the client, and the unit. but it also gives you here the request details that you're able to complete. So what is the length of the extension? 1, 2, 3 months? And depending on what you select, it'll automatically calculate the extension begin and end date based on your lease, right? So if that was the 3 months, it automatically put us out to January. If we're only looking for 1 month, it is now calculating 1 month from the end of the lease, and similarly 2 months. All right, so, and then that's really all that you need to do, and you would just save and continue to upload the required documents of the lease extension. And with lease extensions, all that's asked is an updated lease document. So you're going to go into here and you're going to upload then the extended lease. And then hit save. And what you'll see now is you are ready to submit that lease extension. Going back to the main dashboard, let's go ahead and change that to my household is experiencing a loss of income. And again, this is going to give you some informational text underneath of things that need to happen or rules around the loss of income. And one of them being a new income assessment is needed, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on submit loss of income. And again, it's a very similar setup with the client lease details here, the landlord, the client information, the lease terms, as well as the housing unit. And in order to complete the loss of income, you would need to complete a new income assessment. So the form should be pretty straightforward. It's asking you here to basically just save and continue. But if you have a different assessment date that isn't today, you can always change that. And then it's going to ask you to complete this form, which is the income assessment. You should be familiar with this based on previous steps that you've completed. So if the client's income is 0, you would select 0 and then save. If the client's income changed and you need to select an income type, you can do that. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to keep it as no, there is no client income, and then hit save. Now, once we have an income change documented with the new assessment, you'll see this here, and then it'll also ask you to calculate the rent. Once you calculate the rent here, it'll just pull up that rent calculation form, which is a part of the video on lease submissions. So if you want more detail about how to do the rent calculations and all the steps that lead up to that, please check out our video on lease submissions. And if everything looks good, you'll go ahead and click calculate rent. This is that verification page. And once you have that completed, you'll see the results of your new calculation. And once you do that, you'll go ahead and continue to upload the new documents. So again, this is just a summary at the top. The supporting documents that will need to be uploaded are here. So you would then just go in, upload the supporting documents. I'm doing this pretty quickly. If you want more detailed instructions, please check out our unit identification video as well as our lease submission video. All right, once you hit save, it'll take you back to the loss of income request form that you will then be allowed to save and submit. Going back to the housing placement and leasing dashboard, we can move on to the landlord address change. Again, similar to other lease changes, here it's asking or providing you with some information about what is needed to do a landlord address change. One of the things that you will need prior to submitting this request is an updated W-9 that has that updated address change. So if or when you obtain that, you can go ahead and click on request address change. And here, all you will need to do is upload that updated W-9 form. As soon as you hit submit, this will then alert our AFC admin folks to review and make the updated change to that address. Now, the last lease change that we have here is if the unit has a brand new landlord, so new ownership or new management. And again, it does give you some more specifics about what is needed. So things like updated agreement forms and contracts, and so you want to make sure that you are getting that documentation. In the meantime, while you are collecting those documents from the new landlord, please request that stop payment is made so no payment is going out to the previous landlord. The stop payment request requires that you complete these fields down here. The date to stop payment, this is an important date because this will be the date that our team uses to stop sending payments. So you want to be sure about this date and when this stop payment should go into effect, right? So if it is today, you can go ahead and put today's date. And then identify the reason why you are stopping the payment. So if the client is exiting, obviously that would be a reason. But what we're trying to do here today with the lease changes is a change of management. And we do require that you provide a detailed description of the reasons. So the landlord sold the building and new management has taken over. Then once you're done, you would hit submit. And that would be the stop payment. Now, to submit the official change of ownership, So if you've already now collected all those documents and you are officially ready to submit the new landlord's documents, you will go back in here, select the situation, and instead of doing the stop payment, since we've already done that, you're going to select submit change of ownership. Because at this point now you've already completed the new landlord documents, right? So here, this form should look familiar at this point, but you'll go ahead and click into here and it's going to give you that landlord directory again. And you're going to look for your landlord, your new landlord in the system first and make sure they're not on the list. If they're not, then you can always add a new landlord. For the purposes of this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Aziza Test Landlord as the new landlord. I did not want to add a new landlord to the system since we already have enough test landlords, and then I'm going to identify the date of that change. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and save and continue to bring us right back into the workspace so that we can upload those documents that I collected from my new landlord. So the lease documents here. I'm going to do this pretty quickly, but it should look familiar if you've watched previous videos. It's just an upload to the files and then save. All right, once we have all these documents in place, you're going to go ahead and save and submit. And this will take us to the lease changes summary just to confirm. Here is your change of ownership that we just submitted. And it also shows the lease extension we did and the income change as well. So that just about covers the lease changes. So again, these are the options that are here. Selecting any one of these will provide you thorough instructions on what is needed to complete the change. And once you have all the information that you need, you will go ahead and click into the request so that you can complete and make that change. And then once program administrators are reviewing that, then you will be alerted on what the status of that change is. All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about move requests. So this lease is a current lease, as we said. This current lease is active. It is good through October of next year. And we know that from looking at the lease terms right here. Let's say for whatever reason the client needs to move from this current residence. What you'll see here is when there is a current lease on file, this button appears. If the client doesn't have a lease that's active on file, it's not going to appear. So if there is the option, there will be a question here that asks, does the client need to move? In which case you can select yes or no. Now, if you select yes, you'll see that you have the option to go into the move request. If you select no, it asks you to proceed with renewing the lease if that's what you're interested in doing. Because I would like to demo what happens for the move request, I'm going to select yes and click into open the move request menu. Now, the move requests menu is going to populate all submitted move requests on behalf of this client. So here, as the client gets requests more move requests, or there's action, you'll start to see move requests populate here. To start one, you would click this button labeled Submit a New Move Request. And again, here's that red again. So these are the things that you will need to complete in order to submit a move request. What is the move request reason? So here are the options. So lease is expiring, whether it's the landlord or the client who wants to move. There's early termination of lease. Options, there's month-to-month lease, eviction, and VAWA. For some of these, you'll notice that as you click into it, other questions or data points are going to be required that are specific to that reason, right? So let's say the client's lease is expiring. I will need to just fill out these things here. If the client's doing an early termination of lease, you'll notice that things like a termination letter is required and other things. Also with VAWA moves, similarly, there will be different options. So if this was a VAWA move, what I would do is then go through each one and enter the data that is appropriate. So the date the client plans to move and the reason here. Here is where you would enter the details outlining why this move request is being submitted. And then you would upload any supporting documents if you need to. What you'll notice is once I've submitted the move request, you do see here a record of that move populate. Now there's a couple of things on this that you should note. One, you can view and edit. So this will just pull up the request that you submitted. It'll allow you to access the files that you've uploaded with. Look at the approval status to see if any action has been taken on it, or if you've decided that the client does not want to move after all, you can also just delete it. Deleting this doesn't mean that it purges it completely from the system. It just means that it's a soft delete. So. All right, and with that covers the lease changes as well as the move requests steps for the housing placement and leasing. Thank you so much. Please check out our other videos on unit identification and lease submission.